Welcome Aquarius to your in-depth monthly forecast for November 2023 for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you some standout details to look out for. Please stay with me. I will explore in much greater depth all the ins and outs particularly relevant to your sign. Your success sector is really powered up this month and gives you an opportunity to make your mark in quite a significant way. But later on in the month, there is going to be a change, and it is going to become more interactive for you and more based on your interests, your friendships, and your network. Also, your traditional ruler of Saturn starts to go forwards from the 4th. So much to share with you. Please stay with me for more. With year 2024 speeding towards us, if you order your year 2024 personal horoscope forecast now, I'll prepare the rest of year 2023 for you free of charge. But also in my special package of 30% off, I'll prepare for you your character analysis report, your life roadmap. This will give you searing insights to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, but helping you to get a much more intimate understanding of how to work with these in a really adroit way. Please see the link beneath this video for more information. So Aquarius, as you make your way into November, so the Sun, Mercury and Mars are all high in the sky in your particular solar chart. Now this means that you're going to be able to raise your visibility. People are going to be much more conscious of what you have to offer. And if you are someone who's very goal orientated, this is a month where you can really make a mark. But equally, the 10th house can be where we have responsibilities for our parents if they're older. It can be to do with our worldly connection outside of work. So where we have community interests, we volunteer, or perhaps the interest that we pursue that we're really passionate about, but where we connect to others in quite an important way. So the month begins with Jupiter and the Sun in an opposition. So this is really interesting because oppositions are polarities, and Jupiter is in the part of your situation to do with home and family and emotion. But if there is something that you want to change around a property matter, this can be a week at the start of this month where you could make some very confident but bold moves. There's also an opposition between your modern ruler Uranus and Mercury. This can create much more electric energy, perhaps even some restlessness. For example, if you're living somewhere that feels cramped and is not meeting your needs, your desire to change that can be very strong. But if your options are limited, that could create a degree of frustration. That said, if you're someone who works from home or works for yourself, your innovation, often one of your strongest suites, can actually be turned up to max with that particular influence. But there's also an opposition between Venus and Neptune. If there is somebody that's really featuring in your life, someone that you're finding very alluring and very attractive, you may find yourself being pulled towards them in quite a mystical way. This person may have something about them that you feel has added depth, which just adds to the intrigue. But because the Sun, Mercury and Mars are in such powerful locations, I feel that they can give you the confidence to perhaps make a move, if you're single, towards someone you are attracted to. In an existing relationship, I feel that you may want to formalize the situation. So if you've been getting to know someone and it's been going well, you may want to decide to move in, and that means the relationship becomes something that other people can relate to. It becomes more of an institution. For some folks, it may even be that you're going to plan a date to get spliced this month. But as I mentioned in the introduction, Saturn goes direct on the 4th. From the middle of June, he has been retracing his steps, and from the 7th of March has been creating quite a lot of pressure on your sense of self-worth. Now the second house, which is how we feel about ourselves, in terms of our value, can also be where we want to enjoy life's more sultry and sensual pleasures. But of course Saturn is quite the hard taskmaster, so I would say that since March you've really had to keep your nose very much to the proverbial grindstone to make sure that resources are flowing in, particularly obviously because the cost of living's gone up. But for you personally it may have seemed quite intense, this change, but I feel that Saturn going direct can help you, but it is still going to be forging some challenging angles as this month goes on. But on the 8th, Venus moves into your sister air sign of Libra, which it governs. This is a tremendous transition in a way, because Venus in the 9th house is a truth seeker, but it's also a lover of travel, different environments, and anything to do with the arts. If you do head off somewhere and you find yourself absorbing all the local history and cultural side of the journey, I feel that it is going to be incredibly enriching. You could also find yourself connecting with someone at a distance. Maybe it is going to be to do with your work. If you are a creative person, your ability to take responsibility but also feed into the situation some flair, which is fresh and different, is definitely emphasized by Venus arriving in this area. But if you're in a relationship that perhaps has had its moments, Venus here can help us to really think about what the reality of that tie is. But on the 10th, Mercury makes its way out of your 10th house and into the 11th. Mercury is technically debilitated in Sagittarius, but for you, this 11th house energy is very much in keeping with the qualities of your sign. It's sociable, it's interactive, it's very much about being futuristic, but it's also tackled in a right angle by Saturn in quite a powerful way. So if you start to develop some expectations, or you want to expand on from the more physical targets that you've been setting earlier in the month, Mercury may, in its clash with Saturn, make it seem that some of the things you want to achieve are a little bit unattainable, and patience is going to be important, because by the 13th your desire to break through any barrier that's been holding you back and power towards a golden prize is really emphasized in the following month. Why is this? It's because it's a new moon. The new moon in the sign of Scorpio is also linked very closely to the ruler, the traditional ruler of Scorpio, of Mars. Mars is really going to up the ante when it comes to your determination, your passion. If there is something that you feel unrecognized around, whether it is a hobby or a professional skill, or you want to compete hard to get a better job, your drive to achieve this in the following month is going to be incredible. In fact, it's going to be burning red hot, which could create some moments of frustration. The moon is technically debilitated in the sign of Scorpio. It's in its full, and also Mars, so close to the sun and the moon, can make the moon a little less stable in a way. The moon obviously is very much about nurture. It's about shelter, protection, security. Mars, because it is really about gratification in Scorpio, it wants it, and it wants it now. So in the following month, you may surprise yourself by how much you're prepared to raise your profile, call up influential people, apply for a role that only a while ago you may have felt was perhaps out of reach for you. Now you can find the inner resources to really develop your self-confidence and belief, and this dynamic energy can work its way into all different parts of your existence. But also from the 18th through to the 22nd, the sun links brilliantly to Pluto, the modern ruler of Scorpio, so a natural receptiveness. And this for you is house 12, linking through Pluto to house 10. So important really to understand that Pluto in house 12 can be very tactical, and it's also about doing research. So even if you're making that big thrust for a golden prize, also important to think about your tactics, how you're going to cultivate anyone that you encounter. And this is where Venus's charm and ability to get on well with people, particularly in the sign of Libra, is really going to be such an asset to you. But on the 22nd, the Sun switches signs to Sagittarius, followed on the 24th by Mars, but both are squaring with Saturn again. So Saturn is continuing to ask you to modulate some of your expectations. It doesn't mean to say that Saturn going forwards is not a good thing. It certainly is, but it's just saying you still need to work very hard at understanding the foundations of your situation, what resources you have available, and only applying ones you can truly freely afford. So it's not a time to be extravagant this month. It is a time to think about the long-term future of your situation, and if you do take some steps forwards, gain something and then consolidate, because that will make you feel more secure. Then from the 25th through to the 30th, Mercury's clashing with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. And once more again, it could be that you're coming into a sharper understanding about the value of something, but also your more idealistic nature, which can be very strong, needs to coexist with the reality of how life really is. And of course, it can be cutthroat at times. People are not always as principled as you, and sometimes can take shortcuts and be very disappointed. And all of that could really frustrate you in some ways as the month draws to a close, especially if you're determined to keep your standards high. But you must celebrate that part of your nature. No, not everybody is going to conform to how you see things, but if you can keep your sense of self-respect intact, that in itself is mighty. The Gemini full moon, which occurs on the 27th, is in the most playful part of your situation, the 5th house. It's true that there could be some time management that you need to apply to your situation in the last few days of this month and the first 10 days of December. In some ways, you may find yourself actually in quite a lot of demand, but there also could be demands from people that you're close to. So, for example, a friend or a family member may ask you for some kind of financial assistance. I really would be very cautious about any form of speculation, risk, chance, or investment. It's not to say it can't work out well for you, but I think that what Saturn's been teaching all of us Aquarius people since March the 7th is that yes, the outer environment financially has tightened up, but it's more about, since 2012, Neptune has probably at times made us collectively quite generous with giving to good causes and helping people who are less fortunate, and that in itself is really noble. But nobility doesn't pay the bills if we don't ourselves have enough resources. So it's all about finding a balance that you're comfortable with. If you're really quite well off at this particular time, maybe these issues are going to be more at an internal level, about your relationship to money, your relationship to your values. Or if it's at a more practical level, just being aware that some people that you may have been friendly with in the past are not really living up to your expectations now, and there could be a divergence. Some people could be making their way out, or at least to the outer limits of your situation, and not be so much at the core of your activities. So it's an exciting month for sure, Aquarius, when it comes to punching through any obstacles you've been encountering and really seizing that prize. But later in the month, it's much more about your need to network, to socialise, but be with people that you can really relate to. And I would maintain your boundaries in quite a strong way.